Well, welcome to the November edition of Drinks Professionals Network, and thank you guys for jumping in and joining. And we've got a number of other people who I'm waiting to be the human beings that said they would be here, but not their note takers. Anyway, it's been kind of a crazy couple of months, huh?
Yep.
What do we think?
It's an understatement. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
um, it's finding that at least we know pretty confidently that we've bottomed out.
We have. Okay.
Well,
Well,
until I think we have. Um,
If they
I mean,
reverse the tariffs, though, we might have a tad bit of comeback. I don't know.
well,
yeah,
look, everything I'm reading, I mean, if you take a look, and I'm on the packaging side, so it's a little more boring on my side. But if you take a look at all of the new iterations that have come out every week and every month, I would say 70% of everything that's new to the market has come out of Europe, not the United States, which kind of shows me two things. Is there a total saturation point of availability and dynamic products out there? Is there nothing left to do in individual categories? And secondly, it shows how, truth be told, how your current government has completely crippled everybody because no one can make a darn decision. Developments here um, in the US are down dramatically. We're Most of what we're doing is quoting to try to find cheaper prices, not new developments, because there's a huge rationalization and consolidation across everywhere that we're dealing with.
I mean,
And
I think your point about it's about price and not about innovation. Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
Well, and
well,
I'll add to that. You know, I do a little bit of consulting these days, as I think you all know.
mhm.
And I'm seeing both where people were asking me to help with domestic projects or with import projects for materials, components, um, etc. I'm now seeing a shift where people are looking to source new and different whiskeys and spirits offshore to bring in, which is a different market segment than what we have seen ourselves operating in. And I'm also seeing my major clients ask me for help in supply chain and trade compliance work going from one foreign destination to another, often displacing what has been traditionally U.S. export markets.
That's
That's
interesting.
interesting.
So in other words, they're not even looking to source from the US.
Mm. They're looking to source Mexican, Caribbean, Canadian, South American. Sorry, I took a bite of food stupidly.
Yeah. Bon
Um,
appetit.
Going into Europe or going into Canada to displace U.S. market share that's eroded.
Mhm. And it's
And
interesting that, when you look at even the Diageo numbers that they just reported, I think today or yesterday, and the percentage of uh, decline in US, yet their European brands are up.
Well, I mean, look at Canada. People don't seem to realize 31% of all U.S. whiskey exports went to Canada 8 months ago, 9 months ago. That equated to 6% of the U.S. annual production of whiskey.
Mhm.
Most of that is gone now, which means we realistically probably lost a full 5% of the American whiskey industry's annual production capacity in sales to Canada. And the Canadians, they drink hard and they're still drinking.
Mhm.
Ontario is still the world's largest spirit buyer.
Oh,
They're just not buying from us.
yeah. Quebec,
Ontario's the world's largest spirit buyer?
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
So
They're
Ontario,
They're
yeah,
the single largest.
yeah. So
Sorry.
Ontario is largest on the spirit side, and the SAQ, which is Quebec, is largest on the wine side in the world because we have a captive market of 8 million puppies for Quebec, and for Ontario, it's almost 10 million people, and it's a totally captive market.
And it's colder up there.
Not
And
a
we
lot to
still
do in the
drink,
middle of
and
the
we
winter
still
other than
drink
drink.
hard. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, stop it, Stephen, will you?
Hey, I did some consulting a few years ago for a major distillery in rural Saskatchewan,
Okay.
and I was on site in February. It was negative 28 and the sun was shining. Guess what? People drink hard up there.
Trust me, you know, I'm Canadian.
I know that.
So yes, we drink hard.
I'm not saying against you. I'm saying it right with you.
So Carrie, tell me what the wine, where things are from your perspective from a month over month change.
Well, I'm sure everyone knows my company is also European. Where everyone's going up January 1st, significantly in pricing. Um,
And I asked why.
well, the tariffs, because someone's got to pay for them. We've been paying
Okay.
for them up until this point, but I mean, you
Okay.
can't sustain profitability to forever like this. So that's why when I said maybe if it gets reversed, it could change the game a little bit. Because the fear is that people start switching to domestic, like Prosecco and Pinot Grigio is very big for me. There's other Pinot Grigios out there that don't come from Italy. I mean, there's always a trade-off for everything that somebody can go somewhere else to try to save money.
Hmm.
Um,
So your pricing will go up by what? Well, what's the European tariff? What's the tariff coming from Italy?
25%.
So is that how much your price is going to go up?
So, yeah, I mean, it's not to an exact science. It depends on the varietal and the type and what's, I mean, grape prices have fluctuated as well. So there's not a specific, it's not across the board 25%. It's some brands here, other brands there, and stuff like that.
Got
Can
it.
I ask
But
you
I
a
mean,
question?
the cost of goods is also going up. So there's all kinds of
Oh,
factors in play. Glass comes from here, corks come from there. I mean,
Everybody.
it's full
um,
circle.
hey, knowing that you're a European that you've got roots in Europe, I'm just kind of curious. What's the sentiment towards the American market these days? Are they like, well, we want to continue, or it's like, well, listen, they created this monster, let them bathe in it.
I think both.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they all know, yeah, we've created the monster. But then what do you do? I mean, we can't not be in business. I mean, we could,
Oh
but
no, I understand that, but it's like here being Canadian, a lot of like we still love Americans. We again we've been
now,
brethren
so I
for
know a
over.
lot of Canadians that aren't living Americans.
Well, they don't love look. I don't love your government, and I don't like what has been done. But that's not the topic here. The real thing is a lot of people are going. You know what? Listen, they voted him in. This is what they've done. This is what they've created. We're a lot of countries are trying to pivot and say, okay, well, why don't we just take the U.S. off our marketing map and focus on other areas? And if they don't like it, they'll come back to the table when they want to. And that's
Yeah.
what some people are saying.
I mean, you have Canadian whiskey. So, I mean,
It's
there's
not
an
the
option
same.
for you
Trust
right
me.
there.
The only place
I know it's not, but
no,
I'm saying there's options. I mean, I'm just comparing whiskey to wine. Like if someone
yeah, it's a
wants to
medium.
drink a glass of Pinot Grigio, they can certainly get it from California and they don't have to buy Italian. If somebody wants a Chardonnay, they can drink it from Washington and they don't have to get it from France. So, I mean, you can look at it in all different
Yep. But
angles.
the Canadians, what we're seeing is they're now sourcing more Scotch, they're sourcing more Irish, they're sourcing more Japanese, they're sourcing more French. And those are displacing the historical dominance of American whiskey in Canada. And they're also, yes, indeed, sourcing more Canadian. I mean, I just valued the stocks of a Canadian whiskey producer for their bank. And, I gave them a premium where whiskey's going down. I said they went up 15% in value over the last 6 months as far as their stocks because they're selling more because Canadians are buying more Canadian, but they're also buying more of everything else except us.
Canadians have always bought more Canadian. I mean, that's been there's nothing different about that for the past 50 years. They've always bought more Canadian than they have American whiskeys. This American whiskey run up is only 10, 15 years old up there. Canadians were very, very, provincial in how their whiskey was drunk up there. So,
Well, we're also, with all due respect, quite cheap. And I say that graciously. The foreign exchange between the U.S. and Canada has never been beneficial to Canadians, and not to mention when everybody tries to sell up into Canada, it's an unmitigated nightmare of hell to deal with the LCBO and the SAQ. Most people kind of go, you know what, it's just not worth it. The amount of effort that we need to do to get into this, and we have to sell our product for less than we can sell it in the US. Well, a lot of people have chosen not to do it. It sucks because as a major bourbon drinker, and I can't find, like in Quebec, I will never be able to find any decent bourbons. And so when I travel down to the States, I try to smuggle as much back before getting myself in trouble. It's a difficult trade. Now, knowing that our interprovincial barriers are slowly but surely coming down, it may help some uncontrolled provinces like Alberta and BC and in the Maritimes bring in more stuff where I can turn around and order from Alberta instead of having to and circumvent the SAQ and the LCBO. Like I'm doing this right now. Where am I buying my bourbon? I'm ordering it from Alberta because they're bringing it in and it's available there.
I think the whole Canadian thing, I think, has been exacerbated by what's, these tariffs and everything. But I think the problem is endemic to how the industry works, and it goes far, far, far beyond the Canadian issue. I came into this industry out of Silicon Valley in the early 2000s, and I immediately saw that this was an unsustainable industry about how it was working because of the fundamental gangster mentality of selling in a three-tier system. And that has never been expunged out of the industry. And it's essentially one of the major causes of the rot that's going on right now. You've got mitigating factors out there. You've got wellness, and you've got Gen Z, and you've got, the economy. But at the heart of this, people forgot how to sell, or if they ever knew how to sell.
Yeah,
I was appalled when I came in here, 16 years ago from Silicon Valley, and I came in with a little brand called Compass Box, and I was out there spelling the word artisanal to people because this was the first time a message like that had been out there. And I worked 34 different markets as a U.S. rep for Compass Box. And I said, "Are you kidding me? It's not just a Southern issue. It's not just
it's systemic."
Well, it's systemic, but it's mostly systemic within the distribution tier. That's really where the gangsters, are, and they were the gangsters that came out of prohibition. And suddenly, hey, I've got a distribution route and I'm legal. And doesn't mean that they're dishonest. It doesn't mean that they're crooked, although that happens all through it. But what it means is there's a gangster mentality that's infected all three, and we've never been able to pull out of it. And so,
Well, if it makes you feel any better, here in Canada, our gangsters are the government. Ah,
well, you can say that of Pennsylvania too. Pennsylvania
yeah,
is kind of like, that's like it's like the mob state,
it's hard because everybody here look. I mean, you guys in the States at least, there's more openness to distributing nationally. Here we can't, and whenever it comes, 9 out of 10 distilleries that are in these controlled provinces rely on the provincial the provincial gangster to market their product, and they're controlling what goes in and out of the market. And like it's a problem. And they're the if I go to a distiller and say, have you thought about going international, they go, huh? They have no idea what that means. International just means, hey, great, I just got a plane ticket that says international. They're so into that mentality of just focus on my province
well,
and
the fundamentalism of this was that, in the past 20 years in the 21st century, what we saw was the run up of spirits, primarily craft spirits. I mean, distilling had broken wide open out of the corporate structure of the Shenleys and of the Seagrams, and down to like the micro distillers that happen all over the place. And that was an exciting time. But what happened was, and there was storytelling that was actually done at that point, and that's what kind of broke it open. Now look back into the 1980s in the United States specifically, with wine, and look what happened with wine, right? So in the year 1980, you were drinking French wine, you were drinking German wines, you were drinking maybe some wines from South America, and but primarily you were drinking wine from outside the United States. And all of a sudden, after a couple of years after the Judgment of Paris took hold, then you started drinking American wines, and you started learning how to pronounce Cabernet Sauvignon and all kinds of things like that. And that was the entire 1980s, was the big run up of American wine. California wines took over the world, and we learned about the whole idea of varietals, right? And then what took hold in the 90s is as the wine culture, and this is always what runs it, the wine culture started to consolidate, and you actually started now growing an entire range of gatekeepers inside of that, and that was the height of your sommeliers and the height of the tests and everything. By the time you rolled into the 90s, right, wine became a very elitist type of a thing.
okay.
Became very elitist, and now roll ourselves into the 21st century, when whiskey comes out of its great slumber worldwide, and it starts to catch on. Everyone, distilleries starting to open up again. People are starting to understand what a single malt is and things like that. And within about 5 or 7 years, we saw the gatekeepers come back in again, right? And the gatekeepers took that whole idea of all of the knowledge, because now I got this. I got this, and I've got access to all of the world's knowledge, and I can be the expert. And you started seeing the doors close in a little bit. So I traveled all over the United States. I've tasted tens of thousands of people of all manner, on whiskeys and things like that. And the thing that comes back over and over and over and over again was that they feel intimidated because they don't know anything about this. And we never did a good job of saying, hey, it's a big swimming pool. Here's how to get in. Here's how to get your feet wet, and then go on and swim however you want. Because we insisted, and this is across the board. This is all the gatekeepers, and then everybody picked up on that. It became all about the details. It became all about the facts. We lost the mythology, and the mythology is what got us into this in the first place. It stroked us with passion, right? And it got replaced by facts. That's the bad news. Facts go in and out of our ears. They only light up 2 parts of our brain anyway. Stories light up the entire thing. We forgot to tell the story. And this is where we're at. And I saw this coming 10 years ago. I saw this coming. We turned into an industry of order takers.
Well, then you should have just told us that when we started this group 4 years ago.
Five. Yeah, but so
And you know what?
Robin, here's
Hey,
the
you know what? Hey, Vanessa, who would have listened?
we're
I
listening
would
now.
have pivoted, just like COVID.
But what happened to that moment that we were in, where we were focusing on the millennials and the the authentic storytelling, and there was some good stories that came out of that, and that
Right.
was what 2016, 17, 18,
Yeah.
19,
Right.
but I think once we hit lockdown, stories were not the issue anymore.
And that could that
Well,
actually
well,
lockdown
it's
was definitely a game changer. That was a paradigm shift. There's no, if anybody's looking for the word disruptor, it was COVID.
yeah.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah.
But I appreciate what you're saying, because I was in an industry that was very, very artisanal in basis, and the problem is at some point in time everybody tries to make it better, and by making it better you take entrepreneurs try to make money, artists try to survive, and artists are the ones that are more passionate about what they do than the entrepreneurs, and it's somewhere in those between those two lines is where everything got lost. I love to be able to go see people who are passionate. I don't care if they're making 10,000 bottles a year. They're passionate about what they do, they love what they do, and you sit there, and I appreciate that story more than, oh, we grew from this to that and that to this and blah blah blah.
The dark money story. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great point. There was at one point there was this sort of a balance between
Mhm.
passion and commerce, right? And that's what drew people in, and that's what allowed growth. And then you saw
Yeah.
the gap get bigger. Yeah, passion,
Yeah.
and it all became about just interaction. Yeah.
Well, don't you think it was passion that really drove the evolution of craft spirits and people opening brands? But they've, so many people have had the shit kicked out of them, after 3, 4, 5 years in business, when they, realize that they're not, they're not getting the market share, they're not getting the revenue. Where's the profits?
Well, that's
So-
that was interesting, and that was another thing that I saw. I mean, most of us were there on the come up on that as well. One of the things, again, you remember when there was no DIY?
Yeah.
That was only 25 years ago, right? The whole expression DIY actually is very new. Do it yourself, right? And again, the internet and everything like that actually, helped people say, oh, hey, I can do this. I'm going to do this on my own. Here's an instructional thing like that. That was actually part of the come up of how this whole distilling happened. You have the millennials were probably the most cuisine sophisticated generation ever born in the United States. When you think about, I didn't see fresh asparagus until I was 25 years old. And millennials grew up with with all of these food channels and everything like that, much more sophisticated. So their palates were much more sophisticated. And as we all know, every generation skips the one before it. So whereas my generation was drinking vodka and everything was a teeny, I didn't want to drink whiskey with my father, but my kids want to drink whiskey with their grandfather, you know. And so the whole thing just kind of got, and millennials were really responsible for the whole come up of cocktails, of spirits, of whiskey, because they had a completely different sense of, what the culinary and what the organoleptic world was like.
So is it kind of safe to say that between the artists, the entrepreneurs, the passion, and the number crunchers, all put together within a wonderful economy called capitalism, basically what we're seeing is after COVID, there's a massive shakedown, and this whole tariff situation has just exacerbated everything faster. I mean,
it couldn't happen at a worse time. You're exactly right. Yeah.
well, from every failure comes success, right? I mean, I think that a lot of people went into the business just because they said, if I throw money at something called bourbon, I'll make money. Barrels, and Michael can say this, prices for barrels pre-COVID were maybe 1,200, 1,300 for a 2-year-old. Then they went up to 2,000.
Well, it
That
was
was
more
that
passion. It was
that
more
was better than
passion.
the stock market. So
Yes.
it became a commodity that everybody said, as long as I throw money at this, we'll do it.
Right.
And
It was more passion. It was more passion than sense. A lot of distilleries never should have been open. But that was just it. They got caught in the DIY type of a thing. So here's the number, right? 60 DSPs in the United States, right? Right. The federal license to actually, distill, right? In the year 2000. And that includes Archer Daniels Midland and all of the big, right? At the ACSA tracked at the end of 2023, 3,069, right? So that right there is a complete unsustainable, and it doesn't matter what the industry
Well,
is.
even more dramatic than that is go back there were 2,500 in going into COVID. And
Oh.
then right? And look at how much came up quickly after that.
Yeah.
Now they're closing at, 400 a month.
So now,
well, look, if you just do some basic numbers,
I just
your
noticed
400
Mark left the call. He would have been good for this
Yeah,
subject.
he said he was having connectivity issues and he was supposed to get back in.
If you have 400 million people in the U.S. and you have 3,000 or 3,400, that basically, if you do some rough math, it means that every DSP license puts out roughly 130,000 bottles a year in order to make their survival. The critical break-even point for most distilleries to survive is roughly 100,000 units a year. Knowing how the disparity is between all these DSPs, some of the really, really small guys, unfortunately, the writing is on the wall.
Well, and I'll tell you, and and everyone knows I lost the distillery after 16 years. But I was at ADI this year and I spoke to a lot of people. And the number of people that I spoke to that were trying to enter the business that really didn't have a solid grounding in what it takes to run a distillery and produce product, yet produce quality product, and more importantly, to effectively build a brand.
And go to market, right?
You've got people that have a lot of money and, I mean, did
They're
I make
developing
mistakes with
brands.
Golden Moon? Yeah, I did. But we had a lot of external factors and we were better positioned than most. And I see a lot of these other people that I'm just shaking my head going, where's the business plan? Where's the research? And that is problematic and endemic of the craft community.
But
I've been
Stephen,
a route to market consultant now for 11 years, right? After I left Compass Box, I went down and I trolled the halls of ADI, I trolled the halls of ACSA, looking for clients, doing presentations, doing on all types of things. And what I found out is that no one had a plan. No one understood how to go to market.
If
now
it's
that was fine. That was
if it's
fine.
if it says anything about the industry, a lot of people said to me, you should focus on the small people that need your help. And the reality is, especially because of my supply chain acumen,
everybody
most of my
needs it.
clients today are large players, not small players.
Yeah.
And there are a lot less people I'm not even marketing myself as a master distiller, despite the fact that people are paying me as such, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's ever touched a still is now a consulting master distiller. I'm marketing myself as an international supply chain and trade and procurement guy. And if someone needs help with production, I'm happy to do that. If they need help with formulation, tasting, all that stuff, yeah, I can do all that. But it's the big guys that I'm predominantly supporting, or medium and large players. a few well-funded small players. And even they, in most cases, don't have what I would consider robust plans.
Oh no, because they're all, and this is a shibboleth of mine, so yeah, they're all run by geniuses who come out of the same MBA program. Okay,
I
everybody comes
resemble
out.
that remark. I'm sorry.
What's that?
I resemble that remark. I'm sorry.
If and right behind me right here, I actually have two. You can't see because they're faded up. I've got two. I've got two posters. One is about cognitive biases. The other one is logical fallacy. And there's like three cognitive biases back here that are especially endemic inside of the liquor industry. One of them is groupthink. The other one is in-group bias. And then you have a whole lot of Dunning-Kruger as well. And a lot of head shaking right there. So you have a lot of people coming out of the same programs, indoctrinated to the same type of methodology. One of the things I noticed, and I saw this in the 80s, in the 90s when I was in Silicon Valley. So I was working with small type little. I was working essentially with the craft distillers of technology back then, and what I saw was that this sales and marketing had literally gone like that, right? And marketing were the geniuses, and they're the ones who kind of put the entire plan together, and they had the data, they had the demographic studies, and then sales was just merely there to execute, right? And there was a real division and a divorce between them, and they never talked to each other except at the end of the quarter when they pointed the finger at each other when the number didn't come in. And I come into the liquor industry and like, oh my God, geez, it's that, but worse, right? Because you have marketing that's actually done by the big, we're at what, 5 big brands, 5 big mega companies out there. And then all these distribution units that are underneath it. And it's essentially, here's the program, just go out and here's the number, and here, just go out and execute. Now, when you were dropping, 15 cases of vodka, that was easy, at a discount price. But go ahead and sell like a craft American single malt, right? And good luck with that program. But that program infected itself all the way through, all the way down, and everybody still runs on that idea. And with the small brands, you're done. You're sunk under that type of weight. You can't move under that type of weight.
Well, let me ask you a crazy question coming from a Canuck. What the hell's the point of the 3-tier system? All of the people that look, so I work with a lot of different distilleries, large and small. And the ones that have had their greatest success are the ones that actually have their marketing team, their sales team that are out there setting the framework for these knuckleheads who do absolutely nothing except take orders, make money, and control the system.
That's it. Yeah, right.
Well,
Well, there you go. You've nailed it.
I hope I didn't offend anybody here.
Let me say something here that I think everyone needs to acknowledge, though. The 3-tier or a 3-tier system by default does and will exist even in an unregulated market, because producers don't have the resources to effectively manage full sales and distribution across an entire market.
Understood.
A regulated and controlled 3-tier system, however, is an artificial construct that seems to make money only for, or in no small part, for certain players that control the system. So if you look at Italy, for example, Italy has by default multiple tiers, but those tiers are blended. But for example, if you're a manufacturer and importer, you're not going to control all the way to your retailer because it's not cost effective to do so. You're going to pay people to help you with that. But at the same time, if you're in the US, that same importer or retailer or manufacturer Now, no matter how much money you throw at it, you've got to deal with an additional party that you're mandated to work with, called that tier two. And then you're going to have to deal with all your own retailers. And if you're in certain states, you might have a fourth tier, say Texas, for example, where you functionally have four tiers, at
The
least for on
invisible,
premise.
the invisible fourth tier.
The invisible, well, so the semi-invisible, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, Italy prior to all this insanity was my largest export market. And I found it fascinating to study the entire supply chain and learn the entire supply chain and figure out how it works so that I could better compete in the Italian market. But I used to love, like, we had an importer that was one of the largest importers in Italy, one of only three with full country reach. But even though they had their own sales teams and their own ability to distribute to the retail tier on and off, in most major markets would go through a wholesaler, and those wholesalers oftentimes would also own their own retail outlets, whether they be liquor stores or what they call enotecas, which are liquor stores with restaurants and bars
Mhm.
attached, where it's all vertically integrated, which is a beautiful thing to me. I mean, I grew up as an executive in Ford Motor Company. Vertical integration is a beautiful thing if you can make it work. I mean, say what you will about Henry Ford, the guy had some smarts.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can control as much of that as possible, and in the U.S., in our industry, we can't, but in other countries, sometimes they can. So it's really kind of hit and miss, and you have to at least recognize that there is some value with a middle tier, if you will. But in my humble opinion, it should be market forces that drive that, not artificial control. And of course,
Right.
people have heard me say that for years. And,
Mhm.
you know, yeah,
Well, but the problem is not whether it should exist. Its challenge is executing to the benefit of equality, right? And it's not about we'll pay attention to the big brands because they sell themselves and that pays our bills versus even trying to introduce a smaller brand
Well,
into
it
a
well
market.
that well that kind of brings back one of the points I made earlier is all the innovation and the I won't even say novelty, has all the innovation been squeezed out of this sector? Is there anything left to do that's different? How many different iterations of a whiskey can you do? How
You,
many different
yeah,
iterations of a bourbon can you do? How
you
many
need
different iterations? I mean, have we hit the wall?
but that's just it. At one point, we actually used to have a saying back in the tech industry: just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. All right.
Right.
I mean, how much innovation can any sector take before innovation becomes as drab as anything else? What we don't know how to do is sell. It comes down to very basic blocking and tackling. You build a brand through blocking and tackling. How did Smirnoff get built? Smirnoff got built, right? Because we were a country of gin drinkers. Smirnoff went in there. They had one idea, one thought, right? It's what anybody know what that was? What the Smirnoff campaign was?
No, we're waiting for it.
It was the most brilliant campaign, right? Smirnoff leaves you breathless because people are coming back after 3 martini lunches, stinking of gin. All of these people were going out drinking at night, stinking of whiskey. Smirnoff leaves you breathless. And they went and they hit the market and literally within a 10-year period replaced gin, not just with vodka, but with Smirnoff.
Well,
And
they
they
also
did that.
replaced anything brown.
And anything brown, they were major responsible for all the brown, for the death of brown. But they did that by hitting the streets. They hit the streets with a very simple message, and they did the blocking and tackling that's necessary. That is a core lesson. That's a core. They essentially captured the narrative. Now, if you look at the political landscape in the United States today, there's one group that have been capturing the narrative for a long time, right? And it's because they just kept going out there on a blocking and tackling, day by day, grassroots perspective. And that's how you do it. And we've forgotten to do that because we think it's all about marketing. It's not. When people came to me, the first thing I would ask them during my interview with them is, how much money do you have to spend in the marketplace? Because if you don't have any money to spend in the marketplace, don't tell me that you're a single producer distiller and you want to go out to 40 different markets. No, not with me. You're not. You can go out there and waste your own money. I'm going to bring you down to 4 markets. I'm going to make sure you have somebody, at least 1 or 2 people in each one of those markets, because you're competing against all of these other brands, and you have to keep putting the message out there over and over and over and over again. Look at the history of capitalism. That's how literally everything got started.
So everything you're saying is basically the liquid to lips, because that's in being in the street the same way all the time, because that seems to be the most effective.
It is
that I've seen,
but it's part of it. It is part of it. Liquid to lips is very important, especially if it's a brand new brand, and especially if you have a brand new something, then you actually have to get people to taste it. Absolutely. But that's only part of it. But that is part of the ground strategy. And it comes down to actually putting a ground strategy together. And I can tell you, you walk through ACSA and ADI and nobody had a ground strategy. That was the problem.
Robin, let me hop in for a second, because I am trying to help a bunch of craft brands figure out how to navigate this moment. And a lot of the companies that I talk to and that I work with have made cuts recently, and it's usually first it's sales reps, right? It's people who have feet on the street, who aren't. There's no return on that investment. They're not. And it might not be their fault. They might be a very talented sales rep, but the distributors aren't taking on product. The retailer's not taking on product, right? So it is what it is. And in the thesis that I've been playing with now for a couple of years is that all of the ground game, all of the marketing game, where you choose to go, which zip codes you choose to hit, which streets you choose to go to, which stores you identify, is all downstream from the collection of customer level data, which didn't exist 5 years ago and which does exist now. And I'm really interested in full disclosure, I have a direct to consumer platform, but I sell my product on 12 different platforms, not just mine, so I can measure data and compare apples to apples. I do feel like don't spend $1 on the street until you have customer level data, digital data saying exactly where your customers are, demographically who they are, psychographically where they are, and where there are large clusters of them, and decide which markets to go in based on average order value, and buying frequency, and start with that. But the delta that I've really been trying to explore for about the past 6 months is I've been consulting with a couple of the THC beverage cannabis companies, many of whom who are selling millions of dollars a month direct to consumer, millions of dollars a month. A lot of these folks in the THC space are able to sell $50 to $70 bottles. Of course, it costs them $8 to make them in 4 days, but they're able to sell tens of thousands of units a month direct to consumer. And I don't think there's a spirits brand that's been able to penetrate direct to consumer like these THC brands, even though in many cases it's the equivalent price, right?
It's
and
the
so
younger
I've been
generation.
well, it's also the older generation.
Oh, really?
It's also AARP. Yeah, AARP is like, here's a bottle of weed juice that has like a NyQuil dosing mechanism on top of it, and you can be very careful and you take it before you go to sleep. And what we see is it's not just the young or just the old. It's actually segmented. The clusters are very specific.
These boomers are weed heads. I
people
know.
who live in their house for more than 20 years might be the largest purchasing segment in DTC for THC. Right. So because we look at how long they've lived in their houses, so we can create the lookalikes. But I'm trying to figure out why no spirits companies, as far as I've been able to tell, have been able to penetrate direct to consumer, which I believe my thesis is that creates the data to develop your ground game. You don't develop a ground game before direct to consumer data. You spend 12, 18 months figuring out where you should be spending marketing dollars, who are the demographic and psychographic. And I've been trying to basically hire digital sales reps, right, who can hit 46 markets or 43 markets. And nobody has to come to a store. They're already, you meet them where they are, which is on their phone.
Right.
And I'm curious to see, I'm waiting for that spirits brand to really crack the code that the THC brands have been able to crack.
Well, look, I don't know, but it's two different markets.
Right.
The alcohol is regulated. THC is what is it? Is it food? Is it alcohol? It doesn't fall. It falls more into the food category. So, yeah, it's very difficult to unless you create
It depends
a
on
new
the state.
category.
I mean,
I tell you what category
Yeah,
is
I
hot.
know.
Even though wine is down, these things like XXL and Big Daddy, whatever, these 14, 15, 16% wines are like out of control. I can't
Yeah,
even get to sleep.
high grade cough syrup. That's what I call it.
Yeah, they're all flavored, they're all high proof, but they're labeled as wines, and they are between it's people going from one extreme to the other. They're either going for not drinking and doing the THC thing, or they're going like, I hate to use the expression, balls to the wall, and they're drinking this disgusting
That's what it is.
stuff.
Sorry, quick question. With that THC, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
With that THC, does that include CBD or just because every market doesn't have THC? I mean, where my new distillery is, 100 feet is a recreational place, Star Strains, and they should have been called, Star, like Strain Bucks or something. But they're doing like 7 million a month. I mean, the cars are like constantly. Does that include just CBD or is just straight THC? Because there's other markets that THC is not legal.
Yeah, it's
Based on your data.
THC it's Delta based on my experience, and I can tell you
Mhm.
probably I'm helping run the store of about 75 different companies right now. And over the past couple months, maybe one of the top 3 questions we're getting from them is like, hey, we've built a customer base, we understand DTC, we want to put additional products in it. Can you hook us up with a THC co-packer? It's THC from hemp under the Farm Bill. I mean,
Yeah.
this is from a distillery that works with a co-packer to make THC. This is 10 milligrams of THC per can.
and it
Sells for
depends on the
$5 a
state.
can online.
It depends
And
on the
it's
But
state.
is
So
it,
Colorado,
what
you can't
state?
do that.
But what state are
Yeah,
they in? California or Colorado?
So they're in
or-
Indiana. These ones are in Indiana, and they don't ship to California, Colorado, Utah.
Yeah,
And they ship to
Colorado,
like,
there's a firewall, and
yep.
not only is there a firewall, but Delta 8 is now heavily regulated as well as of this last round of elections. Colorado was obviously one of the first two to legalize THC, but it's also one of the most highly regulated to the point where, much like we saw in craft, everybody ran to Colorado to invest money in THC. And a lot
Right.
of those companies are now going out of business right, left, and center
Mhm.
Yeah.
because it's so regulated.
Yeah, they can't.
So,
there's-
so is there room for CBD? I mean, because there are people like in New York, you have the THC, but you have people who don't want the THC. They rather the cannabinoids, the CBD. I mean, is that still in flux, or is the THC just taking over the CBD?
Well,
I don't even know the
Full
difference
spectrum.
those are
Or
arguably different products with different purposes. There's a
yeah,
lot of medicinal CBD that's being produced around the country. And RA, I'm sorry I stepped on you.
no, fine. Because I produce, I have a CBD tea, which I know now have the patent for to put it into the tea bags. We've just been, you know, we've been selling it, but now I'm gonna go full throttle. Now that I have the patent for that process.
Well, it
So
depends on the state and the regulations. A lot of CBD is still unregulated. It depends
okay.
on the state. I mean, I have a neighbor that has a CBD soda brand, and he had all these high hopes, and I don't think he's making money.
Well, here's the next
Well, it
question.
depends.
What's coming after THC and CBD? Because alcohol has been around for so long that there's so many reports and research out there saying that it's not good for you. And now slowly but surely, with all this knowledge
Well,
and the
remember, I'm
wonderful
in Colorado. We got mushrooms too.
listen, I'm in Canada. We have everything. you know, the question becomes is as some of these reports come out and they start realizing that it's not as good for you because it's causing psychological damage on long-term usage. What's next? Do we pivot back to alcohol, or is there something else?
Well,
I didn't, I haven't even heard of this, that all this is now saying it's bad for you.
Oh yeah,
Depends
What,
on
there are
what you
reports
alcohol?
out there that
No, I know, I've read all the alcohol stuff. I'm talking about the,
Oh, the
whatever
tea.
Atilla,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
oh yeah, it's out there.
Popping up everywhere.
Well,
Huh.
and now we have a fair amount of psilocybin here in Colorado. But what you're starting to see nationwide, because I know people in that industry as well, um, is, you know, you had unregulated, mostly gummies that were being put onto the market, but also
Yeah,
some beverages as well. And now people are starting to realize that they're putting other things in there that
yeah,
might not be good for you. And so I think you're going to see a lot more testing and regulation across the board with any psychedelic, with anything that's got THC, CBD, Delta 8, whatever. Um, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but I think that a lot of the people that are trying to regulate it are coming off half-cocked, and a lot of people that are advocating for it are coming off half-cocked.
So you
And
think
there's
it'll
just a
pivot
lot of
back to
bad
the
info out
alcohol?
there.
You think it'll possibly pivot back to alcohol when people realize, hey, wait a minute, this is cool, but the fad's kind of done?
We've been
I,
around
I can I
alcohol for
I
thousands of years. I don't think this
Hopefully.
will.
I agree with what he said. Alcohol's been around a long time. You know,
yeah,
it's known and trusted,
yeah,
good, bad, and
exactly.
indifferent. And we are all alcohol producers, so there's that. But no, I think that the next 10 years, the landscape is going to significantly change for all of these things, including alcohol.
Mm. Listen, guys, I have to run. I've got a 12:30. It's been a pleasure speaking to all of you. Steve, good to see you. Vanessa, good to see you again.
good to see you again.
Yes, thank
We
you
were in
for,
Detroit together,
Yes, we
not
were.
together, but y'all know what I mean.
Yeah.
just,
Hey,
thank you for that, across the border perspective.
I'm gonna have to jump in a
Take
few
care.
minutes as well. I apologize, everybody. I'll be
Well,
on
we
for
Take
another
haven't
care,
5
even
everyone.
had
Have a
a
good
chance
weekend.
to say hello to Michael Clancy or Wendy, who have also joined us here.
Hey,
So,
Wendy.
hi. So, do you guys, we've got some people leaving, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. Michael, you're always good for that global perspective.
Hi folks, how's it going? Good to see you all. Good to see you, Stephen. It's been a while, so good to see you again. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, just lots of different things going on. It's to run into Christmas season here. It's also kind of trade fair season to an extent. So we had BCB. We were at BCB in Germany in October. There's a lot of kind of, I suppose, a lot of negativity around, but there's also opportunities to be had out there as well. So you just have to be kind of agile enough to go after them. And we have a few things happening that are pretty good from our point of view. My brother is out in Asia at the moment. He was in Mumbai last week at Pro Wine Mumbai, and he is at the Hong Kong International Wine and Spirits Fair yesterday and today. And next week he's going to Pro Wine in Shanghai. So that's there's certainly lots of stuff happening out there as well. So and opportunities out there. So we were very happy. We picked up a Connoisseur's Choice Award or Connoisseur's Pick Award at the show in Hong Kong yesterday. One of 3 whiskies selected as the Connoisseur's Pick for one of our whiskies. And I was at the Irish Whiskey Awards last night and picked up 2 gold medals, one for one of our whiskies, and another for our vanilla vodka.
Right.
So yeah,
Well,
so that's, I suppose, the rundown from me. At the event last night, it was in Teeling Whiskey Distillery, which is now owned by Bacardi. But again, there was the keynote speaker was a guy called John Cashman, who is kind of head of whiskey for Powers Court Distillery, which is currently in administration, or not sure what the exact term for what they're in, but they're up for sale at the moment. So that there was a lot of talk about kind of resilience, and but also that the fact that, you know, our industry has grown significantly over the last number of years, and has headroom to grow as well. And it's just it's a case of that we need to go after opportunities, and not necessarily all opportunities in the US to the extent that we were. It's about a third of where Irish whiskey is sold, I think, now. But it's yeah, there's, you know, there's new markets out there, and we're well positioned to do that. We have, across the category, we have kind of quite a bit of diversity of flavors within Irish whiskey, so it's a broader category to an extent even than Scotch at this stage. So yeah, so anyway, that's, I suppose, a positive note. I came in at the call, there was quite a bit of negativity on this, so hopefully just, you know, stay the course, I think, and keep looking for the opportunities. And it might not be, you know, I read an article the other day saying, you know, it's not, the opportunities aren't necessarily all going to be in premium. They may be in down low and dirty, and that's what you know, you've got to go after. But there can be still good opportunities. It's just a different way of thinking of things. You might be selling more at lower margin, but that's the way to go. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Hey folks,
Well, I think it's an important perspective.
I've got 12:30 coming up, so I have to leave.
Okay.
Talk with everyone.
Same with me. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you soon. Michael,
I think, you know, what's very positive is, first of all, you're getting recognition for the juice on a global stage, so that has to help. And you know, the fact that you guys are still so actively present at all these shows, that's not easy. You know, it's expensive and it's not easy, but it pays off. And I think many people would just cut that first rather than invest in it. You know, so I think that's to your credit.
Yeah, no, that's if you, no one is going to come in through your own front door looking for the stuff to a vast extent, you know.
Seriously, and that's true.
Ring the doorbell.
I hear you.
Speaking of front doors, Vanessa, what happened?
Oh yeah,
you sent me the picture. The tent blew over. The fire department came. Like, what happened?
Exactly how you said it.
Yeah. I'm a good reader.
Exactly how you said it. So now I got to get a use permit. I didn't know you got to get a permit for the tent. I didn't know that.
Well,
but why did it just blew from the wind?
Like a kite. It went up over the building.
Oh my God.
Like a kite. But it's all good. I mean, I'd rather lose a $700 tent than somebody getting hurt.
Yeah.
You
Seriously.
So now I'm just waiting. I'm gonna delay everything because the fire department got to do a safety inspection. So I said, well, I might as well install my sprinklers in my fire alarm system and let you do everything. So we're working on my husband's working on the drawings right now for the sprinklers, and we're gonna submit it to the town. And then the town said I got to get a use permit to change because it was coded as a automotive. So I got to change it to distillery, retail. So I said, no problem, because everything is done. And then so I'm going to just do that. And I'll probably open, I want to do like Cinco de Mayo, because 60 days, I'm not doing a grand opening in the middle of the damn winter in January. So I'm going to wait till spring. And then I'm so busy. So that's, right now, I'm just going to take my time, because the only thing is just that. And then the upgrade, I'm just waiting for the 400 amps to come to my place from PSCG.
You're still operating out of your original.
Yeah. Right now, I got 6 pallets going out at the other place. But I'm keeping the other place because It's always great for storage and backup, and
Yeah, yeah.
you never know. Yeah, and
All
I'm
right, well,
licensed there.
The spring sounds better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds better to me because I really needed a break. I'm tired. You know, and that way. But it's nice. You know, when you guys come up, you can come up. You know, when you come, Carrie, you just hit me up. You can just come. You too.
Yeah.
You know, Mike, both Michaels. Mike, Clancy. My husband want to know, are you related to Tom Clancy?
No, not that I know of. Not that I know of. So yeah, no.
Could happen.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Mike Clancy. Mike
Yeah.
Clancy
You know, I get
talking.
those
He
kind
said,
of questions all the time. I said, do you
Yeah.
really think I would be sitting here right now with you on the Zoom call if I was related to
I
any of
know.
those people? I don't think so, but okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I have to pop off here as well. So
Okay.
good
All
to
right,
see
well,
you
I
guys.
think we'll,
And
thank you.
yeah,
We'll-
we'll catch up, I'm sure, around the start of December, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah, keep the faith.
Yeah, we're all good.
Everyone.
We're a little
All
bit of a
right.
mess over here, but
Drinking.
Yeah.
yes.
I know.
Keep
All right,
on.
good to see you
Everybody.
guys. Take it easy.
Keep
Bye.
drinking,
Take it
folks.
easy. Yeah, I'll let you guys know, Carrie and Mike, if we're coming to Georgia because I'm not flying, but I'm trying
When are you
to.
coming?
After I finish these clients' projects, I don't do any bottling or.
You didn't
like I
answer me,
said,
but I saw that Tony's on
What?
that tour.
She is on the tour.
That is so
She
crazy
was here last
that
week.
they're all back together with them.
Yeah, I don't listen. They gotta make their money.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
I get it.
figure out how to do a